This is Greg at Easy Realty, and welcome to our first ever weekly podcast. So each week, these podcasts are going to follow basically the same kind of format, which is there'll be a little news item, current events that have affected the real estate market that you may or may not be aware of. There'll be, I think probably a little biography on some of the new agents that have joined us in the past few days. If you are one of those new agents, I would encourage you to write down a little biography of yourself, what your background in real estate is. Maybe you're new, in which case that's fine. A photograph would be preferred as well. I will share it briefly. I promise it won't be too long. And then there's going to be a little lesson. And here's a list of the lessons that you can see. Now, it's by no means complete, and it's in no particular order. I'm going to produce them in what I believe is to be an appropriate, logical order. And from time to time, we will update them. They will be available for you to view on a private YouTube channel, as long as you keep these emails and the links. And again, click the subscribe button if you would please, and a little bell icon so you get notified of the new items as they become available. But I want to build up your knowledge so that it is encyclopedic. So I've got tons of information to share, and I'm going to do it for you free of charge so that you can make a success in real estate and maybe enjoy a 20-year career as I have done. So let's get started. I will start off this podcast with a news item. And if you've spoken to me on the phone, I'm sure you all have, of course, but many of you will have heard the story of the guy who I paid $1,500 to spend one day in my office. This is the guy concerned. His name is Lee Honish. He's the former head loss mitigator at IndyMac Bank, the HELOC division. His father was the vice president of Beneficial Bank, and I've famously repeated that I spent $1,500 for him to spend one day in my office, which was hugely beneficial, and I paid for lunch, by the way. But I learned recently, a few days ago, of the sad fact that Lee has sadly passed away. It was some months ago, I believe in around August of 2023, and I've only just learned this very sad news. But I want to share with you some of the things that he taught me during the time that I was with him, which was literally one day in my office. And the most important thing was relating to short sales, because I was finding it difficult to get short sales approved by the banks. And he told me that, and asked me what the reason was. And I said, well, I had no idea. It didn't make any sense to me. And he said, well, it's because they're making too much money. Which, when you think about a short sale, we're talking about a property where someone's not paying their mortgage, they're not paying their property insurance, or not paying their property taxes. The property is very often vacant, left abandoned, especially if it's a vacation home in the Disney area where we are, of course. It may be different where you are. But essentially, I couldn't understand why they're making too much money. And he said, Greg, you need to understand how money works in a fractional reserve banking system. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link in the description to the video on the main website, How Money Works, and I would urge you all to go and watch it. And that is why, in the current climate that we're in, that I absolutely know for certain that we're looking at and we're staring at a massive crash in the real estate market. We're seeing signs of it already, which is the fact that there's nothing really selling, there are no new listings, there aren't many buyers out there. And everybody has a different explanation as to why. Some people say it's because interest rates are rocketing. Some people are saying that they don't want to give up their 3% mortgage to go and get one that's at 7 or 8%, all of which are true, of course. But the sad reality is there's not enough money out there, and it inevitably transfers wealth to the banks. Please go and watch it, and I would urge you to listen to it and understand it, because as a former banker, he would know more than anybody else. So there is a GoFundMe page for Lee. If you Google it, you'll see it. There is an obituary to the guy, and it was real sad because all he wanted to do was help people out there. Okay, and the other bit of news I want to share with you today is that we've just come back off of something called caucuses. The Republican caucus, I believe, was in Iowa, and here's one of the first lessons I want to teach you with regards to politics. When it comes to politics, I don't talk about it. And here's why. Because one of the rules of selling, and that's the business that we're in, we're all involved in selling, whether you're selling to a buyer or you're trying to get a listing from a seller, it's all about selling. And there are various different steps in the process, one of which is you've got to talk the same language as the person that you are talking to. A good example of this is if I said to you, look, I'll give you $100 and you put it in your pocket, and you're going to speak with a gentleman from China. His name is Mr. Wong. He doesn't speak a word of English. He only speaks Cantonese, and you don't speak Cantonese at all, and you cannot use body language. I want you to tell him that you want to give him the $100 bill in your pocket. You will never do it because you can't communicate with this person on their level. And that is one of the rules of selling. We're going to do the different rules, the different stages of selling in another later episode. But right now, if you can't talk the same language as the person you're dealing with, then you're never going to get along. You'll say something stupid that they disagree with, and everybody likes to deal with people like them, and you could lose a sale, potentially. So just zip it. From my perspective, I always use the excuse, I'm foreign, and if I say something wrong, then they'll say, if you don't like it, go home. So it's best just not to get involved in politics whatsoever, or for that matter, religion, which is a completely different subject. But from that perspective, don't talk about politics to anybody. Just nod your head and agree and say, yeah, that's whatever it is. Move on. Talk about the property you're trying to list or sell or whatever. So with that in mind, let's move on to the subject matter of today's lesson, which is forms. I'm often asked as a Thompson broker or agent, can we use the Realtor Association forms? Well, the reality is if you do not, it's a bit of a red flag to other agents. And so I try and keep my head down and basically just work with the forms that are presented to us. And we send back offers and contracts and listing agreements that are basically the same. So we have effectively several different ways, essentially three different ways of utilizing this service, one of which is to use the system that's built in to Transaction Desk, into the MLS. You can, within a couple of minutes, produce a form that is word perfect. And it's produced on a Realtor Association standard form, imports information directly from various different sources, maybe a previous MLS listing or a real list or an IMAP, so that all the information is accurate and correct. And then you can simply save it and email it to somebody for signature, or you can print it as normal and have somebody sign it if somebody's there in your office or in your company, and utilize that method. The second method is simply just to go to print off a version of that form and then fill it in longhand. It's a bit long-winded, but effectively it would work. It's still legal. And the third option is to utilize that form and use some PDF editing software, which you can download and is freely available, and utilize that to produce the form and even add things like regular signatures, not e-signatures necessarily, but regular signatures. So let's take a look at all three. Now, as you can see here, this is a real genuine listing. It's a property in Celebration. It's a condo, 1 bed, 1 bath. Looks like it's been on the market. This ADOM, by the way, stands for Agent Days on Market. It's been on the market for about a month, and they're listed at $299. You can look at, if you wish, the history, see if there's been any price reductions. With this one, there has not, of course. Previously sold, looks like here. But in terms of the property, we want to do some forms. We want to write an offer for this. Firstly, there's a link here to attachments. Now, when you look at these attachments, there's a floor plan, there's a HOA addendum which can be used, also a seller's disclosure which should be shared with your buyer, and also a condo rider. Click on any of these links and you can simply download it to your computer, have your purchaser sign it. There you go, fill in the buyer's name here, sign in the appropriate places, and you're good to go with that form. However, what if we want to actually write a contract offer? I'm going to go and close this down now. Here is Transaction Desk. Now with Transaction Desk, we can very, very easily produce a WordPerfect completely filled out document. Here is the, we can suggest here that it's a residential sale. We're going to import the data from here. You're going to add me as the selling agent. We're going to create it. Now, this is going to pre-populate all of the appropriate fields for you. All you've got to fill in is the buyer's names, and there you go. As you can see here, the details are all here as you can go through it step by step. If you have somebody that wishes to purchase a property, get the name of the buyers and the price that they're offering, and then we can simply complete all the necessary fields. So we're going to add the form. We want an as-is contract. Typically we use as-is. We're going to search for as-is, and there's our contract. We're going to add it in, and it's as simple as this. How long did that take? Literally took, what, not even 2 minutes to produce that. So again, you can put in the buyer's name here, A&, other, and everything is there and completed for you. All you've got to do is put in the price. Let's say we're going to offer $299, and they're going to put down $1,000 earnest money deposit. The escrow agent is listed on the MLS listing. We're going to add the details there. It's just a series of checkboxes. Look, folks, we're going to send the earnest money within 3 days. Are they going to get a loan? Are they going to finance the deal? Let's say they're going to finance 150,000 of it. But automatically everything's filled in. We want the closing date is for acceptance is here. Typically it's like 3 days. Then we're going to put a closing date on. If it's finance, it's 30 days, could be less. It's just checking boxes, guys. Look, it's as simple as this. If it's a financing deal, then you're going to put in, they've got, again, you can leave these boxes blank. There's always a thing that you can fill in. But it's nothing more complicated than this. And literally, at the end of this, you can download it and print it off and have your purchasers buy it. There it is. Now, I can change your name and put your name in here so that it's personalized to you. And then, of course, up here, we can, as you can see, we can save it as a PDF. We can print it if need be. That's the very simplest and quickest way, folks, of actually getting the MLS to produce a form for you. Okay, let's move on to number 2. So here is option 2. I've set up a Dropbox specifically for you to be able to gain access to all the appropriate forms needed for any real estate transaction. So open a web browser. We're going to go to realtyforms.org. There it is. And it will take you to our particular Dropbox. Now there's some for public use. We're going to click on the ones for agents, and you have literally every form that you need. If you cannot find the form that you're looking for, just pick us up and let us know. But with regards, let's say for example, we're going to list a property for sale, and we want an exclusive right of listing agreement. You can see it's been customized to Easy Realty. We have taken out any reference to the Realtor Association. But besides that, click on download, and then you can write out everything longhand, and you have a legal document. Now remember, we need a copy of this for the files in the office, just in case we ever get audited in the unfortunate event that should happen. But it gives us an opportunity to make sure everything is complete. Legal description can be found from property tax records, and again, it's just a series of checking boxes. And what's this, 3 pages? You can put in the listing commission, any cooperating commission to other agents, and it's as simple as that. That's number 2. Okay, our final option is where we take our existing downloaded form, as described in option 2, make it look a little bit more professional looking. Now, as you know, Greg loves the F word, and I'm going to describe to you today details of this piece of software. It's called Wondershare PDF Element Pro, which is free to download and use for both PC and Mac. When we open this form, we are chosen the wrong option here. Open with Wondershare PDF element. Here we are. We're presented with this form here, and this gives us the option to add a text box here, for example. So if we put in here, we can add our Mr. and Mrs. Buyer and go through each and every step of these. We can change the text, the highlight, change the font, for example, into a different style. We can make it bigger or smaller, as you can see here. And again, all of this is free of charge. Now, an additional element, once you go through all of these lines and get your text correct, is you can also add a signature. Now, your seller here is going to be initialing this box here, but if you need to initial, we have a free option. We can use 3 different versions of signatures or initials, and I'm going to show them to you real quick here. So we're going to reduce this down to a size that's suitable and insert it here. If we go to our last page, we can add a signature here, do something similar, and add this here, and it makes for made a duplicate there, it makes for a real proper document that can be saved as a PDF and emailed to your clients, so that you have a paperless office. We can do a bit for the planet, and our carbon footprint is reduced, and save these documents without the need for paper. Save them all into the cloud. I'll need a copy of this document for the purposes of auditing, if that's the case. But other than that, it's as simple as that. Very, very easy. Remember, I love that. Remember, it's easy. That might become a catchword, by the way. Okay, let's wrap this up. Okay, folks, so that about wraps it up for the first ever podcast. It took me longer than I thought, because I had to learn the software, how to get all this produced. Even the little green screen thing where an image appeared down in the bottom corner, and I'm sure I'll get faster at it. What is there out there other than what I've already mentioned, and I'm going to come up with off of my own back, that you want to know about? I'm sure there's things such as like ChatGPT is one of these things that I keep getting bombarded about and saying how it's all automated. Obviously, how to get listings is a very important one. How to find motivated buyers and sellers is another one. We'll cover all of these items in a great more detail. But I need your feedback. Please let me know what you think of this, the format, how it can be improved. Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? I mean, I think actually, if anything, the criticism is more important to me than the compliments, because then I can learn from that and make these things better for you. So until next time, which will be next week, I assume, I hope, I wish you a very productive and healthy and happy week. Thanks for watching. Bye.